Hello and welcome to another episode of Corner Football Pod, wherein we talk about all things football. I'm Harikeshav, and along with me is my trusted friend and co founder of the channel, Amog.
Hi.
Hello, Amog. Amog is in full Bedad Ekbali get up today. What was the
No,
reason?
I'm wearing sunglasses and
Oh, I thought the sunglasses was because of how well Chelsea has been performing.
don't
Cole
don't
Palmer was
jinx
on
it, man.
fire, so it could also
Don't
be
don't
true.
jinx it. Don't jinx it.
If anybody I have to jinx, I would talk about Sancho, but then
Don't jinx it. Let us play at least 4 5 EPL games next. Then we have to judge.
brilliant. Always nice to have you, Amog. And today we have with us a very special guest, another diehard Chelsea fan, Sahil. Welcome to the pod, and nice to have you as well,
Thank you so
Sahil.
much, guys, for having me.
Sahil, for our listeners, could you start by giving us a quick introduction and sharing how your journey as a Chelsea supporter began? Any memorable early anecdotes from your time following the club?
So the basic thing was that all the boys in my classroom and all my friends around my house were supporters of Ronaldo and Manchester United. So it was a very
Okay.
easy decision for me to choose Chelsea. And I started watching around Ancelotti era. So Chelsea were on the top of their game, scoring huge number of goals every week. It was like love at first sight. The most
Mhm.
memorable match I have to say is 2012 semi-final Camp Nou. That
Okay.
goal by
Brilliant.
Ramirez, that red card, that Torres goal, everything was just perfect.
That's an amazing match that you chose, also due to the way that match panned out. Everything was against Chelsea, and then Chelsea go on to win that game. Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction, Sahil. So, before we jump into the episode, as always, please share and subscribe. Your support for the second episode was absolutely fantastic, and we are so much grateful for all your support. In this episode, we'll hear expert insights from Sahil on what we are calling the Battle of the Bridge, Todd Boehly versus Clearlake Capital for Chelsea's ownership. As you all know, since Bloomberg's September 6th report on the rift between the co-owners, Todd Boehly and Bedad Iqbali, who acquired the club for a staggering 3 billion just 2 years ago, tensions have escalated. What began as a partnership has now turned into a power struggle, casting uncertainty over Chelsea's future. And during this episode, Sahil will break down the key factors driving this internal conflict and what it could mean for the club and its fans. So let's now dive right into the blue storm that has been brewing over Chelsea Football Club. Sahil, could you now break down Chelsea's current ownership structure for our viewers and what triggered the rift between Clearlake Capital and Todd Boehly and where the situation stands at this
So
point?
all I'd like to correct Battle of Bridge. The Battle of Bridge
Mhm.
title definitely that Chelsea's first game where we ended their title hopes. Blue storm is, I think, the right term because there's a huge storm about the ownership and the structure of the club. So the structure of the club is basically 61% of the club is owned by Clearlake Capital. So that's Beda Dekbali and Jose Feliciano. And the rest 39% is 13% each by Todd Bowley, Mark Walter and Hans. When the club was taken over, he was made the chairman of the Blueco Holdings, who owns Chelsea and all the
Correct.
associated properties. And there were nine directors, if I remember correctly. And Beda Dekbali, Mark Walter, and all these guys were made directors at that time. So the rift was definitely in the making right from the very go. The
Mm.
one of them is a businessman from US who have a great interest in sports. He has a stake in LA Dodgers, LA Lakers, and other teams. And one another is investment firm whose sole aim is to maximize the profits of their investors. And they have never worked together.
Correct.
I think they came together in 2022 only, and they were trying to buy NFL club. I think Denver based club, but that didn't
Mhm.
materialize. So they ended up buying Chelsea.
Mhm.
So Todd Bowley was made the face of the club, but the most of the investment came from Bedad Iqbali's Clearlake Capital, and they have a very different way
Correct.
of working. So Todd Bowley was like sign superstars and get instant success. You all heard from him. He wanted to sign Ronaldo. He wanted to sign Neymar. and he ended up signing Sterling, Koulibaly, Aubameyang, and all these guys. But he was majorly oriented about instant success. So he wanted to spend money and he wanted to achieve instant success. Ekbali was more of assets type of guy. He wanted to take things slow.
Correct.
And when the Todd Boehly interim sporting director thing didn't work out, he stepped down in Jan 2023 after the first summer window after the sacking of Thomas Tuchel, after appointment of Graham Potter and everything. Ekbali then appointed two sporting directors, Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart. Paul Winstanley came from Brighton and Lawrence Stewart came from Monaco. And these two guys are like very loyal to Ekbali. After the matches and after everything, you'll only see them talking to Ekbali only. So one person was made the face of the of this whole consortium, and the other person is controlling the strings from behind. It was bound to cause some issues at the club. It has been rumbling from for quite some time. Many reporters have talked about it for 3 4 months, and now the story have broken out and everything's out in open.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sahil, for giving a brilliant summary of what the structure is and what the contrasting styles of Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital is. But that is also the question that we had, right? And you also pointed that out, that they have never worked together before. When people come together for business, especially in football, it's always consortiums that buy football. Isn't it very surprising that, given that they have never worked together, coming together in a consortium and buying a football club, and also given their different approaches? For example, as you said clearly, Todd Bowley, he has a more hands-off
Right.
approach, whereas Egbali and Paul Winstanley and Lawrence have a more hands-on approach as well. So, do you think that these contrasting views of doing business or views in general on how to run a football club were overlooked when they all came together?
So I'm not sure of this news or report you can say, but I read somewhere that
Mhm,
Todd Boehly also tried to buy Chelsea in 2018. He was trying for
mhm.
some time, and the when the opportunity rose, the price that was quoted and the all the conditions that were to be met, he also knew that he will not be able to buy it alone. He needed some solid, so he had to take the help of Clearlake Capital. So that was taken for granted. Plus, the let's throw back the manner of this auction of such a huge football
Hmm.
club. So it was
Correct.
time bound. Everything was regulated by the government. The time bound manner in which the auction was taken was being held. I think it also forced their hands that they had to compromise a bit on their styles and their approaches and everything. They had to come together to sort the deal out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing many Chelsea fans didn't want Chelsea to be taken out of Roman Abramovich's hands in the first
Yeah.
place. I guess people still, I hear from Chelsea fans all the time that they say that they would be much better off under Roman Abramovich. Do you still feel that is the emotions with the fans as well, still
Of
today?
course, Roman Abramovich put Chelsea on the map of world football. There's no doubt about it. I know we were
Mhm.
doing pretty well under the years of Ruud Gullit and Glenn Hoddle, Claudio Ranieri. We were like finishing fourth regularly. We had some success on European stage. We defeated Real Madrid in some cup trophy, UEFA Cup trophy in 1999. So like we were doing a bit well, but no one in Slovakia or no one in like Czech Republic knew about Chelsea, that they are such a huge club. That only happened when we started to win Premier Leagues, when we started to compete on the highest stage of European football, and that credit solely goes to Roman Abramovich. There's no denying the fact about it. The way he twisted the arms of Premier League, the way he bullied the market, the way he invested and the clear of the depth of the club, the way he hired the best of the best in everything.
Correct.
People always look at the amount of money spent on the first team. But Chelsea Academy was nowhere near those levels, the levels we have reached now, before Roman Abramovich. So he also invested a lot in the academy, in the media department, in the scouting department, and everything. Yeah, there is an emotional connection because we are a fan of Chelsea because of Roman Abramovich. That's as plain as I can put it.
Thank you so much, Sahil, for also voicing the emotions of the fan and also what the fans feel in terms of how the club was with Roman Abramovich and not anymore, and that the hands were forced and how the auction was regulated. But since we also have Amog, who he's come ready with his whole Beda Bali get up. Amog, from your sense, there's this rift between two behemoths now, Clearlake Capital and Beda Bali. Do you feel that the Chelsea fan base is getting split? Or do you also agree with Sahil that all of this in the first place shouldn't have happened and the club was much better off under Roman
What
Abramovich?
Sahil said, there shouldn't be a split actually. But as per reports, so I think I'll split it down to three major parts. So the current dynamics of the whole structure. So if I take stakes, which already Sahil said, like Ekbali represents already, which holds around 61, 62%, and then Boehly is close to 13%, but he's ready to buy the whole 100% of Chelsea. He has money, he has passion, but I'm sure Clear Lake will stop that. Clear Lake has all the money. They have like 10x of money of Boehly, but again, it depends on how passionate you are, how the owners are. We have around two major owners, that is Ekbali and Boehly, and we also have Vice. He's from what was his name? Sahil? I'm sorry, yeah.
Hansburg Weiss and
Hansburg
Mark
White
Walter.
from Roman. Rain Capital, who did all the lawyer work, who did all the corporate work on buying Chelsea. So they knew all this would happen. So they knew there will be some trouble or something in coming years. So what they have done is, the major thing people don't know is, you can't buy, you can't split, or you can't do anything till 2031.
Correct.
That's a thing. So all this was probably, yes, I think one owner is disappointed on another. So that will be there. As Sahil said, there will be ego clashes basically, because what Boheli wanted to implement, what he thought, when, see, if you are investing billions in a company, and if I invest in your company, or if we both invest, and then you have all the shares, but again, all the transfers, all the operations at club, if you handle day by day, and my thoughts or my understanding won't be implemented, then obviously I'll get disappointed. So that's there. It's a very small misunderstanding, but again, it's a little spark which happened between owners, and that little spark happened around September 6 or something, and now the media took all that little spark and made it a cracker. So
Yeah.
that's there. I'm sure there will be some misunderstanding, but not like what you are seeing on media or something. So it's a very little spark between these guys. But again, what
Okay.
management styles Ekbali prefers a hands-on approach. He directly wants to involve in transfer negotiation. He was the one who went with George Mendes and bought Pedro Neto. So Ekbali and Mendes were the main key in Pedro Neto transfer. This transfer happened in a very quick, because there was no media, there was no speculation. The day before he signed is the day when media got to know. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's there. So if Egg gets involved, then it's another kind of transfer, because he also got involved in Enzo Fernandez. So, and sadly he got involved in Mudrik, which is not turning out good. But let's see how that guy goes. So yeah, this is what Ekbali wanted always. And as Sahil said, Boyle always wanted senior players. He met George Mendes, and he always wanted Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, because all these Americans, they want a star idol or something. If he had bought Ronaldo, I'm sure we would have got some another set of fans from.
Correct.
So that would have turned out well, because he was good. He was in good form at United.
He was. Actually, he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we could have
I
used him at
agree.
least for past 2 years or something. And the
Mhm.
fame which he has is always top
Yeah.
notch. Is always a cherry on cake. Yeah. So apart from that, that's what Boehly wanted always. Apart from that, he bought Koulibaly, Sterling, all these guys, because he was the one who involved in first transfer window.
Correct. He was the sporting director in the
Yeah,
first year,
yes,
right? If
he
I'm not wrong.
himself named as sporting director, and because there were no self-proclaimed,
Self-proclaimed.
yeah. So that was there, and then once, and major thing, he was the one who wanted Potter.
Hmm.
So that's there. So he wanted Potter, he wanted the senior players, everything. But again, that didn't turn out well. And I think it was in April when Potter got sacked. So that is when Ekbali era started. So that was the turning point for Ekbali. Since then, Enzo Fernandez, all these guys were signed by Ekbali only, but in day-to-day operations, Ekbali got involved. And then I think these guys, Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, they started say interviewing managers in between June, something like that, somewhere like that. And then we had to, because we had no apart from Pochettino. So Pochettino had a good TV. He was in PSG, he was in Spurs, he was in Southampton. Seeing Southampton developing talents and Spurs developing talents, these sporting directors thought of hiring him, uh, but that also didn't turn out well. Enzo Maresca and Egbali liked him very much. Actually, Egbali wanted Robert De Zerbi, but De Zerbi didn't want Chelsea. Boehly wanted Ruben Amorim from Sporting, but again he didn't want to leave because, see, nobody seeing Chelsea at that time around 6 months ago, nobody wanted to manage us because the stage where we were, well, it was not Chelsea level. All Chelsea fans will be very happy seeing Chelsea play now. So now I think the team is nurturing what Ekbali planned. You can see the progress now, but I don't want to jinx it, but the progress is there.
Guys, let's come back a little bit and let's talk about what's out there in the reportage. Amok said there was a small spark and then that has been made into a cracker in the media. But what we are hearing in the media is Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital are trying to buy each other out. So my question, or as an outsider, is they've spent 3 billion in order to buy the club and 1 more billion has been spent on transfers. And I think both of them cannot leave the club within 2030. But my question is, there is no significant return on investment that both of them have made in order to buy each other out, right? Where if it's a business, you want to buy each other out, I agree, but both have not just an emotional connection, but also want to see some return on investment on the money that they have spent. Do you think it makes sense buying each other out, or do you think that would happen, or this is just talk from both sides in order to show both are committed to Chelsea?
So I'd like to make some short points on the things that Amok talked about first. So the clause is
Hmm.
10 years clause. They can't sell the club. They can definitely buy
Correct.
each other's share, but they can't introduce a
Hmm.
new member or like say sell their shares to someone else. So there's definitely this opportunity that they are feeding these stories to the media that we are ready to buy out.
Hmm.
But one thing, like I don't think that Todd Bowley will be able to control Chelsea club on his own. He doesn't have that kind of
Okay.
financial strength, especially with so many franchises he has already bought. So what if when the new person comes in, like supposedly after 2031 or 2032, what if the same stories
Hmm.
happen? I know that's like far down the line, but if Todd Bowley wants a total control of the club, I think there needs to be a middle ground. And other thing is that very important to mention, the three people have veto power at Chelsea: Todd Bowley, Bedad Ekbali, and Jose Feliciano. And I follow the club very much, like every day of my life. I don't think I've ever heard that any owner or any person have used their veto power.
Okay. That's good
So
to hear.
they are like top 0.0001% people of this world. They have reached the like very tops of this world. So I know they're very smart and
Correct.
I know they can make compromises. So the veto thing is one example. Second example I want to quote is the length of contract of the manager they have appointed. So Graham Potter was offered 5 years contract. That was because both Todd Bowley and Ekbali were ready to take a chance with him. And then Pochettino was signed. Was there was some reluctance on behalf of the sporting directors, on behalf of Ekbali. even before his appointment. So he was offered 2 years with an option to extend for 1 year. And now see the picture again for Enzo Maresca. He has been offered 5 years contract. So even with the issues boiling, they can
Correct.
agree on certain matters that pertain to the success of the club, that pertain to the conditions of the club. They all believe that Enzo Maresca is the right guy, and even if they have their own differences, they can come together at the table and be reasonable, sensible men. Because just consider the amount of money they've earned by making the right decisions and by trusting the right kind of people. So I think Chelsea fans can find some comfort in that they are still making some good decisions together.
That's brilliant to hear. So, from what I've heard from both Amog and Sahil, is that this is basically a media frenzy, and it remains to be, apart from the stories that you hear, might be coming from each other's teams, but all is well at Chelsea, at least at the moment. Okay, but then the only question is, do you think this all is well scenario is happening now that Chelsea are getting results? And would that turn more into the story of this power struggle between both these candidates would come more into the fore if Chelsea were performing quite badly on the field, for example? Or has Maresca already been facing some difficult questions in the media? Because I feel the amount of players that Chelsea have bought in, the amount of managers that Chelsea have gone through, some stable period is needed for this club in order to move forward. And now this power struggle in the background, is it causing Maresca problems in the front? Because it doesn't seem like Chelsea are just absolutely flying out of the blocks and playing some really good football as well. So how do you think Maresca has handled or is handling all of this on
So
the
I
pitch?
think there are three aspects to this question. Number one thing, I totally agree with it.
Mhm.
If Chelsea would have lost one or two games, the whole media frenzy would have been about they are creating so much instability at the club again. They are not giving fair chances to the manager, fair chances. The results have helped a lot. Second thing is, I definitely agree there needs to be more communication from the owner side. So this story broke out on 8th of September, I think. So from that 6th of
Sixth.
September. So it's almost been a month and there have been no communication about this thing. So who are media people going to
Correct.
ask? Of course the manager. And 3 games a
Yeah.
week, there are 15 press conferences every week. So like every second question can't be about the ownership mess to Enzo Maresca. He's already in a difficult position and that things need to be addressed from the club. If not the owners, the CEO can make some statements. They have trusted, they have put a lot of trust in this new guy they have appointed. They are sporting directors, there are so many analysts, there are so many people who can come forward and make some statements on behalf of the owners. I would prefer that Enzo Maresca should be given that token of confidence and token of trust to take things at his own pace and at his own comfort. He should not be involved in these things. And third thing is, I have absolutely loved the way Enzo Maresca have handled the situation in press conferences. He's taking no bullshit. So he's answering the tough questions very brilliantly at this moment. Also, that Mudrik situation is like take 100% truth in the press conference. So I can vouch for every Chelsea fan. I used to watch every press conference till Thomas Tuchel. Graham Potter and Pochettino, I was not able to listen to one press conference for. They were so full of like shit, and they were like so full of lies and so confused, and everything was so messy. I couldn't just bear to hear them. Now we have got that like
Hmm.
smoothness, we have got that arrogance, we have got that clarity of thought from Enzo Maresca, and that's like very beautiful to see.
It's something to do with Pep's thoughts, right? Arteta doing well. Maresca, despite everything that is happening in the background, has been performing very well on the pitch. But I guess from what you said as well, Sahil, I think that is how running football clubs is very different from a business, right? Like in a business, if let's say a merger were to happen or a takeover were to happen, you don't need to brief the media, or the media doesn't, like, you can choose to hide from the media and say no comment. But then here in football, fans expect some sort of transparency, some sort of communication. And the worst scapegoat to get all of this is from the manager, because these business owners do not have to do these press conferences. So I think Maresca has done a really good job holding his front. Let's move on to the promises that the consortium made. So one of the main promises that the consortium made when they bought Chelsea Football Club was the promise of a new stadium, I think, or the redevelopment of Stamford Bridge. Let's start with whose vision it was, or whose promise it was, or was it a joint promise? And then, do you find now, due to this power struggle, however small or big it may be, that may be affected? So let's have Sahil answer that, and then I can ask Amok the same as well.
The takeover was taking place. There were several even government members on the panel to decide who is going to own
Mhm.
Chelsea. So they actually this issue is very emotional to all the local fans that Chelsea have, redevelopment or building of a new stadium. So they were like explicitly asked what are their development plans, what are their projects about a potential new stadium or a redevelopment project. So every consortium that came and bid for Chelsea did submit their project. So Blueco,
Mhm.
the company that owns Chelsea, they said by the end of 2022 we'll have a solid project. So the next
Okay.
time they said by end of 2023 we'll have a solid project, and now they said by end of 2024 we'll have a solid project. So that's basically the whole summary.
Okay.
The issue is if we are going to talk about Stamford Bridge, that itself is going to be 1 hour. Okay, there is so many nuances,
Fair.
such a difficult project to take on. Number one thing is that there's so limited land. Chelsea recently bought 2.5 acre of land. This took them so many years. It was it was supposed to take 15-20 years earlier. Second is the Chelsea pitch, the Chelsea stadium, and the name Chelsea FC doesn't come as a package to with the Chelsea Football Club. It's actually owned by Chelsea Pitch Owners Organization (CPO). And
Mhm.
who are
Okay.
CPO? CPO are like fans, ex-players, locals. They are a not-for-profit organization that was established in 1993. So, if you want to shift Chelsea FC from Stamford Bridge, you need to take 76% of CPO's consent. And just
Mhm.
to reiterate the strong point, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Gianfranco Zola, etc., all are part of CPO. So don't for a moment think that
Mhm.
their interest will be compromised for once. So there are three options that Chelsea have regarding the stadium. Number one is build stand by stand. So that's what Liverpool did at Anfield. Do not shift temporarily. Do not make a stadium elsewhere. Just make a shift. Second option is demolish Stamford Bridge, play somewhere else for a few years. So Craven Cottage is an option, but it only has 28K capacity, the Fulham Stadium. Another option is Wembley
Yeah.
Stadium, but Wembley Stadium is not like in proximity to the local fans we have. Plus, the match day experience is not as good as Stamford Bridge. Plus, there is also an emotional angle. And third option is there's a nearby land half a mile away. I think it's called
Mhm.
Earl's
Mhm.
Box. We can build a stadium there. But I
Okay.
don't think CPO will agree to that. Stamford Bridge has been home to Chelsea since 19 since the foundation of the club, and I don't think any of the three option is feasible right now. So I think they have underestimated the complexity of situational build because Robin
Mm.
Abramovich was ready to buy all the land, give even bribes, and the whole cost of the project was over 1 billion pounds.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is such a easy project, and I don't think we are going to see any progression on this front. And this is going to be such a huge bone of contention. I can bet you the next time you're gonna hear disagreements between Todd Boehly and Beda Dekbali, 99% I'm sure it will be on the stadium issue.
But let me just ask from both of your perspectives as well, also as an added caveat. Do you feel Chelsea need to move out of Stamford Bridge, like how Everton are doing? Because Chelsea Stamford Bridge is hallowed ground and has its history and everything. Do you think Chelsea are better off moving off to another ground, or do you think building a stand or just redeveloping Stamford Bridge? What would you guys prefer as
For
well?
sure, I wouldn't want any other it's called L's court or something, which we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
bought. Yeah, so
Mhm.
so I don't want Chelsea to move out from Stamford Bridge. It has been an historical place since the beginning, since 1905. Yeah, Arsenal moved out, but again, their history and our history is totally different. Uh, we have won Champions League here. We have won Europa League here, which Arsenal hasn't. So we have a rich history here at Stamford Bridge. And yeah, so I don't see fans will be liking it. As Sahil said, these guys are Americans, so they want day-to-day revenue. So I think I
Correct.
had posted one photo where what is the day-to-day revenue per match day. So I think United holds
Mhm.
the most. You guys around,
5 million.
yeah, 2.5 million per match day. 2 million
This is
Yeah,
match
yeah.
day. This is match day tickets only,
everything,
I'm guessing.
all the
Mhm.
operation
The
stuff.
hospitality and the drinks and everything.
All these ads,
Brilliant.
tickets, everything. So it 2 million or something. Again, Chelsea is not getting. So we are in fourth or fifth or something. So
Mhm.
as Americans, they want to be in top. So in match day to day revenue. So that's where it's holding a bit. So if you ask me personally, as I know some of the insiders, which they say this will be a prolonging thing. So this is not an immediate solution. For sure, around two
Correct.
three years it will take to get a template of this. But again, this is a very long thing which will go on, and media will have fun with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, like they always do. But just to quickly wrap up as well, Sahil and Amok, your short term and long term concerns due to this power struggle in the background. I know you've gone through it during the podcast as well, but then quickly to summarize, top of your mind, your short term and long term concerns. And as a fan, has this somehow impacted your connection to the club
I
as well?
mean, there's no long-term impact.
Mhm.
I definitely see a very good future of Chelsea, seeing all these players. The talent here is very huge. We have seen past 3 4 matches. I mean, we should also appreciate Maresca, who is bringing out the best out of these guys. So long term there's no impact, but short term again, if players cope up and if players keep up their form and hopefully none gets injured in the attack, then we might go till top 4 and we might reach semis or something, finals in conference, and then cups. I don't know, I don't want to jinx it, but again, for short term impact, I just want the players to be in their perfect form, and the connection between them should be is already good now. If you see in training or something, these guys are collaborating very well. Yeah, so long term impact there's nothing, but short term impact is that the players should be in their top of the form.
So that basically Maresca has more time to implement all of the ideas and ideologies that he has on how he wants the teams to play. Great. Sahil, any short term, long term impacts or concerns that you
So,
have?
if you don't mind, I would like to make a couple of short points on the previous thing, the stadium thing, right?
Absolutely. Go
In
for it.
terms of revenue, Chelsea were fifth highest in Premier League, 2022 and 23. So Spurs were above us, and the main reason
Mhm.
Spurs were above is because of their stadium. They built such a world-class stadium,
Correct.
60K. Many people call it the best modern stadium in whole of Europe. Second thing is Chelsea's capacity is ninth highest in Premier League from a club who has which has won two Champions League last 12 years. So I don't think that does any justice. So we need an expansion, and for me the best
Mhm.
option. So you can see the three London examples of recent times: West Ham Upton Park
Mhm.
to London Stadium, Tottenham White Hart Lane to
Correct.
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Arsenal from Highbury to Emirates.
Correct.
So they had to shift. There's
Correct.
such a land crunch in London, but for me the dreamy scenario would be we temporarily shift to Wembley Stadium, we build a new stadium, 60K capacity, the most modern and the best one, so we can be sorted for next 50 60 years. Whole ownership mess is just like tip of the iceberg. There's so much stuff going on
Mhm.
Chelsea. If you are interested in gossips, if you are like a fan of keeping up with the Kardashians, just try to keep up with Chelsea. They first hired a CEO named Tom Glick. If I remember correctly, he was from Citigroup, and they sold us dreams of Citigroup being such a like success model and everything. So Tom Glick had to leave because a women employee filed some charges against him. So, and a guy called Chris Jurassic replaced him. So Chris Jurassic got famous
Mhm.
because we were playing in the League Cup against Wimbledon, and he was talking to Chelsea. He was saying, "We need to take 3 points today, brother. It's a League Cup tie. We need
Mhm.
to win and go home. We don't get 3 points for this." And then he was like, he was such a shameless guy, man. He said that clubs are products and the fans are customers. We need to sell the product to customers. I don't know anything about football. I just care about business. So a shameless guy, man. Like I hated him to the core. So I was happy he was gone. And now we have the new CEO, Jason Gannon. So Jason Gannon is famous for making the
Hmm.
SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. SoFi Stadium would be the opening
Correct.
ceremony stadium for Los Angeles Olympics 2028, and also it will host 6-7 games in next FIFA World Cup. So it is a like top of the class stadium, and we have actually stolen that guy from Kroenkes, the owners of Arsenal. He built the LA Rams stadium for Kroenkes, and we have now stolen that guy. We have paid him huge amounts of money, and the primary objective of making him CEO is right. We need to make a new stadium. So very exciting times, and I think this is going to be the huge bone of contention, the stadium. Lastly, you talked about the short term and medium term. I'm very happy as Amog said, I got my joy back. So seeing so much attacking talent, it like
Nice.
makes me float in the air. We have seen Chelsea play that ball for so many years. We have now got Nkunku, Neto, Felix on the bench coming on to change the games in second half. So we have got so much attacking talent. Also, I'm very bullish on Caicedo and Lavia. Enjo is also good, but I'm very bullish on Lavia and Caicedo. They can definitely become top two, top five midfielders in the world. So I'm very bullish on them. Defense is such a concern. We are getting so many basketball games for Chelsea end to end, but I think Maresca will sort it out. He's getting so much good from each and every player. And one thing that Leicester fans were complaining about his rigidity. I don't think I have seen that rigidity from Maresca till now. We are playing a different style every game. We are playing according to opposition. We played a different game against Brighton. We played a different game against West Ham and all other things. He's making tweaks. He's not afraid to make halftime substitutions. Uh, the Bournemouth game we only won because of halftime substitution. We were dog pace in the first half. We were struggling so much, and I can remember Pochettino in similar matches. He'll wait 75 minutes or 78 minutes to take us to make a substitution. That would be Chilwell on left wing. So definitely a breath of fresh air. He's making so many right decisions. I can't appreciate this guy enough. I know it's very early days, but the start looks brilliant. He's doing the non-footballing stuff very well. The footballing stuff is very good, but I'm so much happy about the non-footballing stuff. He's dealing with the pressure brilliantly. He's making the right decision. He's promoting the right guy. He's identifying the right skills in the players. He's shown the bench to Mudrik, and he's not afraid to make tough decisions. That's what I'm saying. So good days. This is the thing I was talking about earlier. Choosing between Ekbali and Todd Boehly is like choosing between mom and dad in a very bad way, because both of them have so many shortcomings.
Okay.
Like Ekbali is very hands-on. He
Okay.
promoted Lawrence Stewart and Paul Mistral, but where is accountability? Lawrence Stewart came from Monaco. He signed two guys from Monaco, Bennett Bodeshil and Axel Disasi. Both of them are so bad defenders. And where is accountability? He spent 70 million of them. So just tell me, if you make such decision on corporate level, what are they going to do with you? There needs to be some accountability. Axel Disasi and Bernard Badeshil are like the like personification of that lack of accountability we have at the club.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, both of you. The final verdict that I get from both Sahil and Amog is that they've not taken any sides, Clearlake or Todd Boehly, and that this is just a spark and this is nothing to worry about. All is well with Chelsea, and both of them are extremely bullish on Maresca and how he has handled the entire situation, and more importantly, very bullish on the players as well. But they both are extremely certain that the players have to keep putting performances in order for Maresca to continue to implement his ideologies and not have to defend or get very uncomfortable questions in the press conference. So that is all we have from the episode. Thank you so much, Sahil, for being with us today. It was so nice to hear from a Chelsea fan because I came into this episode thinking that it's all doom and gloom, and that's why I called it the Blue Storm. But I think that's all a false alarm. It's really nice to see Chelsea fans in good spirits despite whatever is happening in the background. And thank you so much for being with us today, and your insights, as always, the way you put it, and the knowledge that you have regarding Chelsea. Yeah, everyone who's going to be watching the podcast are going to be much appreciative of your insights as well. Thank you
No
so
Thank
wonder
you.
much.
when you said pick a guy who has a very good knowledge on Chelsea. The first person which came to my mind was this guy, this Delhi
Thank you
guy.
so much.
Brilliant, brilliant, guys. So before we say adios, we had a fun caption contest on our Instagram page with a picture of Lisandro Martinez attempted crazy two-footed challenge on Daichi Kamada. And we had some creative captions as well from the people who follow us on Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, the link is in the description. So let me read a few out and then I will tell you who won. So Vishal basically said, me jumping into conclusions. So that was a very good one. Kevin replied with, when I say I have it under control. That's a good one as well. Sahil, I thought, had a really funny one which says, my sister when she sees a cockroach. So that is my favorite non footballing caption. So, Sahil, congratulations to you. And then my favorite footballing caption was from Abhijit Vaidya, who said, doing his best impression of an eagle, which is also against Crystal Palace. So I thought that was the best footballing caption. So shout out to Abhijit Vaidya for that as well. Thank you so much. Keep interacting with us on Instagram. And as I always say, please do share and subscribe to our content on Corner Football Pod. And we will be coming back soon with another episode with another guest talking about what is happening in the world of football. So until then, please take care, stay safe, and be aware of any corners taken quickly. Thank you so much. Have a nice one.
See
Bye.
you.